this time last year, we're talking about a father-son for the Pies, and his surname started with an M and rhymes with Guan. And that player was touted to be what? At that point, people were saying top 5, top 10.
Yeah,
I
people
tell
were going a
Pommy,
bit
come
crazy.
jump on the stream, brother. I go, Pommy, come on the stream. Let's have a word about Tommy. And on one of your many spreadsheets that you have, as we can see here, you had McGuane ranked at around 25, 30, 12 months ago, where most people were saying he's daring to be a top 5 prospect. Fast forward to today, where is not to bad buzz the Collingwood fans, and not to make the point that Pommy, you're right, but I guess the fact that you had the right idea back then and fast forward to where we are today, I think that's important to highlight. So maybe if you want to shed some light on Thomas McGuane, the father-son prospect for the Collingwood Football Club.
Look, he's one of them players that I always find it hard because I know when people see a father-son, trust me, Carlton fans are just as bad. Like, we see a name we recognise and we instantly turn him into the next superstar. Like, I had to go through the same last year with Ben Camporelli where people were telling me it's our Dacos boys. And I was like, fucking hell. Jesus, don't tell them that. They'll quit playing football. But I think the thing with Tom, and I do like him, and it's not a knock on him, but I've seen these players in the draft 200 times every time I check the draft out, and I think he's got a great ceiling. But I think when you are looking at it, there is a tax on father-son and NGA that the only way I would bid on an NGA and a father-son in the first round if this guy is game-changing, if this guy is someone that I desperately want. And the thing with McGuane at the minute is I think there's about 15, 20 players ahead of him easily who play that position. But that doesn't mean he's not going to be good, because there was a Josh Dacos who was very similar, who had the ability, didn't have the wow, but definitely can grow. And that's one thing that you've seen with Tom. He's played a variety of positions this year for the Western Jets. He's played on the wing. They've even trialled him at halfback. They've also slotted him across half forward. And he's learned every time. He's definitely got all the traits, though, that you love, right? He's got the intelligence. He's got the work ethic. He's already got a sexy little engine. And he's also pretty clean. I'll look at who you have around the club. I think he will be a very good player in 5-6 years' time. He's going to learn off Tom Mitchell, who's one of the best there is to do it. He's also going to learn off Nick, Josh, Pendlebury for a year. So he's definitely someone that where the bid will come, I reckon it's probably after 30, before 50, somewhere around there. It's going to cost you nothing to match. And he's going to be a player that's going to come in and, you know what? It's a shot to nothing. It's a shot to nothing, isn't it?
Yeah. And look, in essence, it's almost worked out perfectly for in Collingwood's list management side of things, because if we were so worried about having to give a first round pick for McGuane in the draft, and then all of a sudden Zach McCarthy's name is thrown into it, and he's in the end going to be a player who probably comes into the draft, gets selected in the draft before a Thomas McGuane. So it's kind of worked out in that way that we won't have to pay as much as we first thought. And like you said, similar to a Josh Dacos, who was a slow burn at the start. He's got a lot of talent. He's got that intellect in Thomas McGuane. He's playing multiple different positions. He's got some VFL exposure. And look, he didn't have massive games in the VFL, but to have that exposure at Vic Metro but essentially playing 3 different competitions this season. He's not playing APS. I'm pretty sure he goes to just a public school, Pom, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to work out in the end, by the sounds of things, for the Pies when it comes to the draft crop.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? It's kind of a shame because I do know last year, everyone was saying top 5, and incredible amount of pressure on him. Incredible amount of pressure because he's not that type of superstar talent, but superstar talent doesn't win your football matches because you can't have 23 superstar talents. There is something there. He works incredibly hard. And I think that there is a chance he could be good, but you've just got to curb your enthusiasm. There is someone that I'm very excited about talking about, who is one of my boys in the draft, that you do have as an NGA, a little ruckman who's very sexy. But Tom, It's going to be nice to see. It's going to be nice to see where he goes. I'll watch his career with intrigue because you have an uncanny knack of diminutive outside players turning into decent players. Like him working with side bottom could be huge, I think.
Yep, he'll be under the right tutelage, that's for sure. At least for a year or two, hopefully.
Hey, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Milkshake says, Pies Footy, you made a video saying Tom was going to be first round top 10 pick because you all got sucked in by John Ralph. And that's the nature of the game. 12 months ago, that video was made on this channel, but you live and you learn. This is my first rodeo. This is why we got someone like Pommy to show us the route. But I put my hand up. Ever since then, I've really sort of just lowered my eyes and taken away the pressure from someone like Thomas McGuane, because as Pom said, sometimes putting a ceiling on someone like Thomas McGuane and putting him on a pedestal this early is something we've learned that probably isn't the right way to go about it with all the kids who have the father-son name attached to them. Unless your name is Nick Dacos, they will always find a way to defy the pressure. But I've learned this year, over the last 12 months, it's probably not the wisest thing to do. But in saying that video was 12 months ago.
And in fairness, right, the hardest time to predict. And I know people know fuck all when they will stick their money on someone will be the best player of the draft. I'm never going to be one of them people who say, I told you this, I'm right, because you get it wrong just as much as you do. But with McGuane, let's be honest with him, he's a good, solid, potential player that if you got him picked 40 in a draft and he played 20 games in 2 years, you'd be like, okay, there's something there. And that's how it is. Not everyone can be superstars. Not everyone is Nick Dacos. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Not everyone's Nick Dacos. You look when you have a couple of maverick players, but when you win a flag, you guys know it. The players that you revere. Like, do you remember when Murphy retired and the uneducated idiots would be on Twitter? He's shit. He's a hack. VFL player. You know how valuable Nathan Murphy was to that flag-winning season. Billy Frampton cops it, doesn't he? Oh, he only had 4 touches in the grand final. You know how important he was to that structure in that winning final. So don't get blindsided by superstar quality.
I think, Pommy, what you said is we got infatuated. We got enthralled by the idea of this another father-son hitting in the draft in where the last few years we haven't had much of a look into the first round. So that was definitely an enthralling prospect. But I think with the position we're in as a club now, we just have to understand and give McGuane the patience he deserves when he does come into the system. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure, regardless of what we say here. But if we can do our bit and just temper the expectations and just tame it for a bit and give him Josh Dacos took a good 3, 4, 5 years to come into his own, and look at him now. So we just have to use that as a blueprint, really.
Yeah, and you look at it this way. Murphy Reed was someone that we loved last year, right? So he's now the best junior in the league. He's going to win the Rising Star. Yeah, we live in a generation, particularly in AFL, that's probably about 30 years mentally in its production of quality content on traditional avenues, that he's blindsided by doing a sidestep, right? Blindsided by doing the ridiculous, the spectacular. I remember last year, Cal Toomey being very hot on Murphy Reed, and it was one of the funniest things I've ever heard someone say, right? Because he described Murphy Reed as he's incredibly talented, very consistent, very driven, but he lacks the je ne sais quoi of the players in his draft class, right? And I remember doing my videos going, I'm turned on by consistency and work ethic because that will drive you to great places. Yep. It's genuinely fascinating to me that players like McGuane get downplayed because they are consistent. They work a little bit. They work hard. They've got some traits they need to work. But then someone will have 42 touches, kick 5 goals, and everyone will toss him off and go top 3 pick. In reality, you want consistency. You want effort. So I'm confident McGuane has all the tools in the right system to develop into what you hope to be. Draft pick's just a number. Always think of that. I'm more scared of top 5 players than I am top 30 players because I think you can play around there. That's where you win flags. Your ability to convert mid players into good. Top 5, they should be great with a little help. Then that's where a good team is. And look at your team; they're amazing. Like, you've got amazing mid-tier players, Collingwood.
Yep. Yeah, and he'll fit into that seamlessly. I mean, I'm hoping if he's once he comes into the system, I'm thinking he gets a really good look in the VFL for the first 12 months at the club and build on multiple different positions, which the club thrives on. Like, those players who play a role for the most part for the club are the ones who can play 3, 4, 5 different positions. So really, is there really a better club than the Collingwood Football Club for a player like Thomas McGuane to try and fit into as well? So I'm optimistic that he would find a way to work his way into the team by whatever position. You look at players like Will Parker's quite versatile. Jacob Ryan will probably get a look in next year at some point. Who else springs to mind, Pommy? You got Ed Allen plays wing on ball. Obviously, at AFL level, he's playing on the wing at VFL level on ball. So that's a bit of a dilemma within itself. But you get the point, right?
Mate, you develop players with players who swim around him. So I look at Tom McGuane. If I was the recruiting manager at Collingwood, I'd be like, okay, look, he's got a little bit of side bottom about him. At times he blazes away. Okay, but we've got Pendlebury for another year. So if I can put him with these two, he's going to naturally learn some of the dark arts. So it's genuinely, you just got to play the game. And look, McGuane, let's be honest, could go anywhere. He could be a 350 gamer, and in 10 years' time, we come back to this video and go, fucking hell, that was the start. He could play 15 games and get delisted 2027. Could go either way, and that's the same with drafts. But he has got all the traits that turn you on.
Yeah, it could go Callum Brown or it could go Josh Dacos. We'll find out.
Yeah, and look, I'd be confident with you guys doing it. I'd be confident if anyone can do it, it's probably your mob.